I'd like to welcome Reverend Purvis Hall for prayer.
Father God, we thank you again as we gather this moment to acknowledge your presence among us all. The one who binds our hearts together, gives us meaning to our shared humanity. God, today we're reminded that no life stands alone. We thank you for the story and the legacy of Christo and for the powerful testimony that emerged from his journey of transformation alongside Nelson Mandela. Their lives declare a timeless truth echoed in the philosophy of Ubuntu, that I am because we are. Open our eyes to see one another, not through the lens of fear or indifference, but through the lens of dignity and possibility. Lord, may this gathering stir something deeper within us all, a renewed commitment to compassion, to humility, to reconciliation. Teach us to recognize that when one person is lifted, we all are lifted. When one person is diminished, we all are diminished. Let us be people who choose connection over conflict and love over indifference. As we begin this discussion on today, God, align our hearts with your purpose and let this space be a sacred ground where truth is spoken, unity is strengthened, and hope is restored. And then, God, as we leave this place, God, we pray you to send us forward inspiration to live out our shared responsibility to love one another, knowing that together we are better and stronger. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. It's my pleasure to welcome a proud Texas Southern University alumnus from the class of 1974, Mr. Johnny Jones.
Thank you. Greetings. My name is Johnny Jones, and I'm a graduate of TSU, but that's the class of 79, not 74. Thank you for welcoming Mr. Brand to our campus. Mr. Brand's visit is possible because of my relationship with Mr. Paul Solomon of Paul's Worldwide Adventures. I am looking forward to hearing Mr. Brand speak on the journey of two men. One, Mr. Christo Brand, from prison guard to lifelong friend. The other, Nelson Mandela, from political prisoner to the president of the new South Africa and father of the nation. I have visited South Africa and toured the prison on Robben Island. I saw a small cell where Nelson Mandela slept on the floor. I encourage you one day to visit South Africa, tour the Apartheid Museum, and Robben Island. In closing, I say to you students, when you graduate, remember, give back to TSU. Go Tigers.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for your continued commitment to TSU and to legacy. To formally frame the purpose of today's gathering, please welcome Christian Davis, who will present the occasion.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's an honor to stand before you today to speak on the occasion. First, I just want to say that it's an honor to have Mr. Brand here with us today. Can we just, one more time, can we just clap out our hands? We have such greatness here at Texas Southern University. I've been given the opportunity to just speak on the occasion today, and I'm going to take the opportunity. As we gather to celebrate Black history, but we do so not merely to remember, but to reflect. Not only to honor the past, but to examine the moral responsibilities of the present. In 1927, amid a climate of religious prejudice, racial hostility, and rising intolerance, the National Conference of Christian and Jews was established with a bold and an urgent mission to combat hatred and promote mutual understanding in the United States. From this effort emerged what became known as Brotherhood, a national initiative designed to affirm that America was not the exclusive inheritance of one race, one ethnicity, or one religious tradition. At a time when exclusionary narratives sought to define the nation as white and Anglo-Protestant, Brotherhood, we challenged that narrow vision. It advanced a broader, more democratic ideal that America's strength rests in its diversity and in the equal dignity of all its people. One of the most compelling strategies was the traveling trio, with Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish leaders journeying together across the country to model respect, intellectual engagement, and shared humanity. Their public witness demonstrated that difference did not need to produce division, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt's decision to serve as the first honorary chair signaled this commitment to unity was not peripheral, but rather central to the nation's civic life. Though the public prominence of Brotherhood Week has diminished over time, its core values, which are equality, which are harmony, which are pluralism, and democratic fairness, remain indispensable. And it's here that Black History Month enters this conversation with unmistakable clarity. The African American experience has long stood at the intersection of America's highest ideals and its deepest contradictions. Black history is a story of people who believed in the promise of democracy, even when democracy did not fully believe in them. It's the story of individuals and communities who expand the meaning of citizenship, challenge systems of injustice, and demanded that the nation live up to its founding principles. From abolitionists to civil rights leaders, from scholars and artists to educators and entrepreneurs, African Americans have not only contributed to this country, they have fundamentally shaped its moral and intellectual trajectory. Their struggle was never simply for inclusion, but it was rather for transformation. Black History Month reminds us that progress has always required persistence. Brotherhood Week reminds us that unity must be intentional. Together, coalesce together, they tell us that building communities where diversity is not merely tolerated, but celebrated. It teaches us that justice is not aspirational, but practiced, and harmony is not passive, but is pursued with purpose. And my prayer today is that when we leave this space, we may not only be informed by history, but transformed by it. May we honor the past by strengthening the present, and may we commit ourselves intellectually, morally, and collectively to the enduring work of brotherhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christian, for those thoughtful reflections.
We will now receive greetings from our academic leadership. First, from Barbara Jordan Mickey Leland School of Public Affairs, we welcome Dr. Gilbert Rochon, Interim Associate Dean on behalf of Calvin Johnson.
Greetings, everyone. It is indeed my pleasure to address this group. And it is, I consider myself to have the bulk of my career at HBCUs. As a graduate of Xavier University, as one who spent 18 years at Dillard University as director of the Urban Studies and Public Policy Institute and a Conrad Hilton Endowed Professor. And then after admittedly spending some time outside of HBCUs to get my master's in Health Services Administration at Yale University and my PhD in Urban and Regional Planning at MIT, and 8 years as Associate Vice President for Collaborative Research at Purdue University. It was then that I returned to the sacred ground to serve as the 6th president of Tuskegee University. And I thought I was retired back home in New Orleans until Texas Southern University contacted me and said, we really need you to come for 3 to 4 months as an interim dean of the Barbara Jordan McAleenan School of Public Affairs. That was back in February, and I'm still here. But we do now, as of a couple of weeks ago, have a new dean, Dr. Calvin Johnson, who is now in DC, and called me up this morning to ask me to speak on his behalf. So in the meantime, I thought I was packing my bags and going back to New Orleans, and was urged to remain here, and where I am serving as associate dean interim and also as interim director of the Mickey Leland School of Public Policy of Mickey Leland School of Hunger, Poverty, and World Peace. Now, it is particularly an honor to be here today, but I must also recognize the fact that unity means not only brotherhood, but sisterhood. And it calls out to us to recognize that positive masculinity is in fact one that recognizes the end of discrimination against women, and certainly the end of violence against women and girls. And to that end, I will continue to wear my hat as on a pro bono basis as co-chair of higher education initiatives for the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, which is sponsoring the Red Car on against all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls, and representing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals on the equality of women, which admittedly is not the case in politics and in religion. For Madiba Nelson Mandela, for Mangaliso Robin Sobukwe, for Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, and certainly for Nelson Mandela and Afrifa, who paved the way for us to recognize that in order for us to make progress, we need to move collectively and responsibly toward our joint goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roshan. Next, greetings from the Honor College Dean Hector Miranda.
Good afternoon. I'm Hector Miranda. I'm the acting dean of the Honors College. It is with honor to have this opportunity to hear from Mr. Christo and we'll be sharing his stories, amazing stories with us. It's not very common that we meet someone who was very close to greatness. Like Abraham Lincoln, great man, like Martin Luther King, great, and so greatness like Nelson Mandela was transform our life and how we view ourselves and our society. Nelson Mandela led this country to freedom, social justice, and later on reconciliation. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. And yeah, I would like to thank Professor Robinson, Dr. Kossie-Chernyshev, for inviting me to be a part of this special occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Miranda. Representing the Department of History, please welcome Dr. Kossie-Chernyshev.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my department Department Chair, Dr. Jessie Esparza. I want to welcome students, faculty, administration, staff, and our distinguished guests. On behalf of the Department of History, Geography, and General Studies at Texas Southern University, it is my honor to welcome each of you. We extend a special greeting to our esteemed guests, Johnny Jones, graduate of Texas Southern University, who reached out to the History Department and asked if we would host our guests. Paul Solomon, who's made everything possible, and of course, Christo, whose presence enriches this important occasion. In our department, we are committed to what we call the making of archives, the interpretation of archives, the writing of history, and the making of history itself. And today, it is in this collaborative celebration of Brotherhood Week and also of the 100th anniversary of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History that we continue to do this very important work in real time. We affirm that neither the concept of brotherhood nor the history of people of African descent began today. Rather, each of them stretches across centuries of striving, of resilience, of creativity, and of global influence. As we gather, we invite you to appreciate the multivocality of Black history, its multilingual, multicultural, and worldwide splendor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing to this moment. And by all means, please stay in touch as we continue the work of making history. And on that note, I will just share a personal note. Some of my students know this, and I'm only sharing it just to show you how important the work of brotherhood and reconciliation is. I happen to be the first African American woman to earn a PhD in the field of history in the state of Texas. Now, I have sense enough to know that it wasn't about me. It was about all of those people who fought to bring that expression to reality. I graduated from Rice University. In fact, I hold 3 degrees from Rice University and degrees from other institutions as well. But I know that what I've been able to accomplish has been possible because of all of those people who fought for social change. So it is in that spirit that I welcome you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Chernyshev. From the Department of Political Science and Public Administration, I will be reading words from Dr. Opamale Olani Lufan. On behalf of the Department of Political Science and Public Administration, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to the Special Brotherhood Week program. I extend sincere thanks to our students, staff, faculty, and community guests for joining us for what promises to be a meaningful and reflective conversation. Brotherhood Week calls us to think deeply about our shared humanity, our civic responsibilities, and the values that hold societies together. In political science and public administration, we study institutions, governance, and policy. But at the heart of all of these systems are people, relationships, and ethical choices. Today's event reminds us that leadership and justice are not only shaped in parliaments, in courtrooms, but also in personal interactions, in moments of moral decision, and in how we treat one another across lines of difference. The global legacy connected to today's discussion speaks to resilience, reconciliation, and the long journey towards freedom and dignity. For our students, this is learning beyond the classroom. It is an opportunity to hear lived experiences, to reflect on the human side of political history, and to consider what public service, integrity, and empathy truly mean. These are qualities that define impactful leaders and effective public servants. As a department, we are committed to preparing graduates who understand both the theory and the human realities of governance and society. Programs like this bring those dimensions together in powerful ways. Thank you, especially to Professor Doris Robinson and to everyone who helped organize this event, and to all of you for being present and engaged. Please join me in giving our speaker a warm welcome. And so at this time, we're gonna have Dr. Gilbert Rochon to acknowledge special guests.
Thank you very much. Acknowledgements have been acknowledged.
Thank you, Dr. Rochon. At this time, we are honored to have with us at-large City Councilman Willie Davis for the presentation of a certificate.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is a joy to be here, my friend. Would you join me here? I'm certainly honored and indeed just ecstatic to come by and to present this to you. And after getting the ask of my good friend Doris, who I love dearly, has been a lifelong friend. My God, Professor Ellis has just been someone that's been dear to me with a lot of history in this city town. But I'm honored today to present this to you of your presence, Brother Brand, Christo, and I want to present this to you from my office as City Council at Large Position 2, and which is also on behalf of the City of Houston. To Christo Brand, on this notable occasion, we celebrate the contributions of what you internationally recognized author and human rights advocate and former prison guard to President Nelson Mandela during South Africa's apartheid era. Through his life and writings, Mr. Brand advances the principles of reconciliation, moral courage, justice, and shared humanity, inspiring audiences across generations and cultures. As the Brotherhood Week speaker for the Houston Sun Foundation of Texas Southern University on February 13, 2026, he continues to educate and uplift students at the broader community. This certificate is awarded in recognition of your extraordinary historical and humanitarian contributions and your enduring impact on global dialogue and understanding. Presented on this day, February 13, 2026, on the occasion we celebrate our brother Christo Brand. God bless you. Thank you. Up top. Up top. Up top. All right. Got it. Sure.
Yeah.
One more. Thank you. Good. Congratulations. Yes, indeed.
Please welcome the Honors Texas Government class for the presentation of the human flags. Thank you to our honor students for the powerful visual tribute.
But you must remember, Robben Island was a prison for prisoners. It becomes a prison for me as a young guard. I was supposed to be every fortnight weekend off. But because of the uprising in South Africa, they put us on standby. Sometimes I stuck on island 3 to 4 months before I can get to the mainland. So I started applying for transfer, which was not approved. My second year, applied for transfer, not approved. Third year, not approved. But my fourth year, I changed it and I put in leave first. I informed him and get married and I applied for the house on Robben Island. There's 90 houses on the island. But I knew at that stage all the houses was accommodated by people. So the commanding officer called me and he said, Brand, your leave has been approved, you can go on leave, you can get married, you can go on honeymoon. But we don't have accommodation for you on the island. But when you come back, report to me, let us see what we can organize for you. So I go on leave, get married, go on honeymoon. I come back on the 25th of March 1982, report to the commanding officer. They look at me and he said, Brand, we still don't have accommodation for you. But I decided I can transfer you temporarily to the mainland prison Paulsburg. I was very excited to hear that words. And he said under certain conditions. And he gave me extra 6 days leave. So I moved over to Paulsburg prison. But at night, before I must start work the 30th of March, that evening they fetched me and they said to me, we're going to transfer dangerous prisoners tonight and you're part of this transfer. 1984, there was so much sanctions in prisons of Africa that the government was forced to release Nelson Mandela. Vergeet Mandela and 4 other guys offer for freedom, which they immediately rejected and said, we'd rather die in prison than to be free and our comrades are not free. But that rejection was spread like a wildfire over the world. Americans boycott Daimler Chrysler, Pepsi Cola moved out of South Africa. The Netherlands boycott our oranges, and all over the world was boycotts. And they sent the stuff back to South Africa. But South Africa was not allowed to enter our port again. So they dumped this stuff in the sea. Millions rands of losses. Some farmers lost their farms. That's where the government sit again and decided, let us spite Mandela and gave an offer for freedom for all political prisoners, waiting trials and detainees. When they all get the offer, they already get a message Mandela didn't sign the offer. So nobody in South Africa prison signed that offer except one person. And that one person who signed that offer was sentenced with Mandela for life to his trial, but he was not kept on Robben Island because he was white. He was in isolation for 20 years. He was a Jewish guy by the name Dennis Goldberg. He signed the offer and immediately was released and deported back to Israel. When Mandela was released, Dennis Goldberg was back in South Africa. At the first ANC meeting, he apologized to the ANC, he made a big mistake. And Mandela said to him, comrade, you don't have to apologize. We was praying and hoping in prison that you sign an offer. With your release, we celebrate in prison because you are not a South African. You could have gone back home and you could have worked for an organization from the outside. You don't have to apologize to us. But what happened in 1985 in our country? Our country became ungovernable. They declared South Africa in a state of emergency. No black person on the street after 6 o'clock at night. Police will shoot you with rubber bullets, arrest you, torture you. Our prisons was overcrowded with people detained under the Detainee Act. That's the time Mandela ended up in hospital with the prostate gland disease cancer. Then government was worried, if this cancer spread and Mandela died of cancer, there won't be an uprising in South Africa, there will be a war. So what happened? The Minister of Justice visited Mandela in hospital. With that visit, Mandela was surprised that somebody from government reached out to him. They immediately asked the minister, sir, is it possible we can meet again when I'm out of hospital but back in prison? The minister agreed. But when we take Mandela back to Paulsburg prison, they instructed me Mandela is not allowed to stay with his comrades. He must be isolated. They gave us one big cell with no windows, no fresh, and quite damp. He was not allowed to see his wife for 3 months. No lawyers was allowed to see, and no church visits. They gave him television. They gave him access to all newspapers. They was afraid if his comrades found out he spoke to the National Party, they will kill him because the ANC said they will never negotiate with the National Party. And that is where we take Mandela at night to the minister. So in that section, one night, I must take Mandela prison visits. That evening, my wife was not at home, so I take my baby infant with me. At that time, I was an officer. When I walked in Mandela's cell, I was so excited to see my small boy. He wanted to hold my son, but my son didn't want to go to him. Told Mandela take a slab chocolate and start feeding my son some chocolate. Then my son became a regular visitor in Mandela's cell only at night. When Mandela was released from prison, he phoned at home. Every time he phoned at home, my boy would run for the phone first because there are landlines, no cell phones. When they pick up that phone, Mandela will always tell my son, study hard, and through studies you make your parents proud of education. Always talk about education. 94, Mandela becomes the president. Me and my wife was invited to the functions, and then later I started working in his office in Parliament. And then later I started work with the drafting of the Constitution. But it was one morning I was called in after I was working in the Constitution to Mandela's office, and at the time the Constitution was adopted in 1996, and he gave me a job offer at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. So I said to President Mandela, where is this foundation? He said, Mr. Brandt, that is in Johannesburg, at my offices. I said, sir, I would love to work for you, but please not in Johannesburg. My wife is working in Cape Town, my kids is in school in Cape Town, my family is in Cape Town, I love the mountains, I love the beaches, I can't move now to Johannesburg. He looked at me, he shook his head, he said, Brandt, you'll really become like an old tree now. An old tree you can't replant, but don't worry, I'll get you another job. 2 weeks passed, he gave me a job offer at Robben Island Museum. So I started work with Robben Island. And I was first when I opened the ticket sales, then later kilo shops, a coffee cafeteria, do some private tours for Robben Island. But while I was working on the island, one morning I was called into the president's office for work to his house story for breakfast. And that morning when we had the breakfast, he looked at me, he said, Brandt, as I can remember, it's tomorrow your son's birthday. I said, yes, sir. He said, how old will you be tomorrow? I said, 16 years old, sir. He said, my friend, I don't have birthday cards with me, but I'm going to draft your son a letter. He drafted a letter, he gave it to me, he said, you must give this letter to your son tomorrow morning. The next morning, my son read the letter and said, later you see on the board, congratulations on your birthday. So my son was very excited to get this letter. But a few years passed, then Mandela called me one day to his house again. We meet. Then he said to me, Brandt, your boy is finishing grade 12 this year. I said, yes, sir. He said, remember, your son is my responsibility. He was the second small child I met in prison. I want to give your son a scholarship. What is he going to study next year? I looked at him, I said, President Mandela, my son has so many ideas. He mentioned to me, you want to become a civil engineer. He said, leave it to man, I will get him a scholarship. 2 weeks passed, Mandela phoned me the Sunday night. He said, Brandt, I've got a scholarship for your son in New York. Everything will be paid in full. They can study as long as you want. My comrades will look after you. I was very excited about that. That Sunday night, when I told my son about the scholarship, he said he's not interested to leave the country. He don't want to become a civil engineer. He want to become a commercial diver, work underwater. I was very upset about that. What happened? The Monday morning, I phoned the president's office. He was at the office. I spoke to the secretary, explained that. She said, Brandt, I don't want to hear that. You must rather come in and see the president yourself. So that after 2 o'clock, I go to the president's house, take my son along, we take some photos. After a photo session, Mandela said, Mr. Brandt, I want to see your son privately alone. So we walk in the office, they close the doors. After 15, 20 minutes, I was called in. He said, Brandt, you make the same mistakes as my parent done in life. You listen to your child when he's small, what you want to become one day. Now you want to guide in the direction. Your son told me he wanted to become a commercial diver. I will pay for his diving course. I will pay for his diving gear. Children must learn through their mistakes. That's the only way how they can grow. So he sent my son through a commercial diver's course, give him a letter of recommendation for a CV. My son did a job on Robben Island, where they extend the harbour wall, the side gate, deep in the harbour. But in 2005, one evening, my son was on his way home late, and that evening was in a car accident. And on the way to the hospital, my son had passed in an ambulance. Without being informed Mandela about the death of my son, he phoned me the next morning and said to me, Brandt, what shock it was for him when he gave the message. He said it immediately reflected back to me when I was a prisoner on Robben Island, sitting in my cell, and I get a telegram that my eldest son, Tim Bekele, had died in a car accident. I think back, I could have never said goodbye to my son the day when I was sentenced. My son was never allowed to visit me while I was a prisoner. I could have never wrote a letter to read at the funeral, or I could have not attended the funeral. Then he said to me, Brandt, a parent mustn't lose a child. And I had a long explanation. And after that, he said to me on the phone, Brandt, I would love to attend your son's funeral, but I'm not in the country, only back in 2 weeks' time. I said to him, President Mandela, I really respect that. I know your heart will be with us, the family, but the funeral will be within 4 working days. That day of the funeral, Robben Island closed their doors. All the ex-prisoners, staff members, members from parliament, ministers was there. That day, the Dutch Reformed Church became too small. That day I was supported by people from different cultures. 2 weeks after the funeral, Mandela was back in the country. His secretary contacted me. I must come to his house that Sunday. That day when I arrived there, he first spread his condolences to us as a family. Then he made us sit, and then he looked at me and he said, "Brad, I realize we both come from the rural areas. We both land in the city of apartheid. We both land on Robert and he is a prisoner, you as a guard. We both lost our eldest son in a car accident. I want you to write a book about our relationship." I looked at him, I said, "President Mandela, if I must write a book about our relationship, I'll end up in prison tomorrow for all the illegal things I done for you while I was a prisoner." He said, "Mr. Brandt, that won't happen. I will support you." He put pressure on me for 6 years. Then he sent a lady from the UK to me. And she took control of my life. She said with President Mandela, she said with Ahmed Vertrauen. And she started compiling my book. When my book was finished, Mandela ended up in hospital and he passed. When he passed, the family flew me to Kuru. They want me to be part of the family at the funeral. That day when I sit at that funeral in Kuru behind Zinzi Mandela, I looked at the coffin and I said to myself, for 27 years this old man was in prison. For 14 years he slept on 2 mats and 3 blankets, treated like a dog. For 40 years he worked in a limestone quarry, breaking lime rock, nearly lost his eyesight. After that he worked on the rocks, take sea kelp out of the sea. Where he slipped on the rocks, fractured his ankle, his knee, and broke some ribs. But he walked out of prison with reconciliation in his heart. 3 months after the funeral, I was invited to the UK for my book launch. That evening, Zinzi Mandela picks up and she said to me, "Mr. Brandt, you can't run away from me. My last promise to my dad was, he said, if he can't attend your book launch, I must represent him." So my book was very well received in the UK. Then I launched my book in Constitutionville with Ahmed Vertrauen. And then I launched my book in UMass, Boston, in America. So my book is called Doing Life with Mandela, my prisoner, my friend. I think I will just stop there first. I don't know if there's any questions. Thank you.
Good questions.
Thank you, Mr. Grant, for that powerful and deeply moving address. We will now open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. We actually are gonna have you guys just stand and project your voices because we don't have the microphone to bring to you. But if you have any questions, you know, please come.
I don't think I need a mic, but was it true that Nelson Mandela, President Honorable Nelson Mandela, actually said he missed most the voices of children laughing and playing? Did he actually say that, or was that a fallacy?
You know, Mandela was pushing children. He was not allowed to see children in prison. That was his biggest dream to an older child. He sees his own children when they were small, when he get to prison. He see them when they was adults, 18 years old for the first time. And that's what he missed, you know. And Mandela was always a person in hands spirit to the children. He always said the children is the future of the world. He always believed in children. Yes, sir.
Sir, what was your reaction, or is your reaction, to the United States government eliminating the practice of providing visas to folks coming from South Africa, with the exception of those who are Afrikaner?
Yes. You know, they said, what I mentioned the word. I think that was totally incorrect and wrong. You know, there was this few people maybe play that on President Trump to get him here. That's all I think. But there was not that such a thing. I know there was a lot of murders, farm murders, but it's not South Africans who murdered these farmers. It was mostly people come over the borders illegally, killed people on the farms. There was not only white farmers being killed in South Africa, there was black farmers killed, there was Indian farmers killed. It is not that only white people was in the problem of killings. But what happened with what Trump has done here, what the people say is not correct. I don't believe that. And you know, if I can just mention to you, Mandela always said, we are a rainbow nation. And one day, I was in a school with Mandela, I can mention it, and we was walking there and the kids was playing. And he touched my shoulder. He said, Brian, look at black and white kids playing together. He was testing me. I looked at him, I said, President Mandela, when you become the president, the school is multiracial, open for all colors today. He said, very good, very good. He was very happy. But we walk on, we stand still again and look down the rugby field, and a black kid bite the apple. He said, Brian, look there. The black kid bite the apple and share it with the white kid. I look at him, I said, President Mandela, if you look at that two kids, they're so small, they don't see a color, they just enjoy life. He said to me, Brian, that is right. That's a rainbow nation I want to see develop in my country. But remember, we tried to change Robben Island into our university. We take over government. My comrades is not educated. Somewhere in the line they're going to fail big time. They was failing big time with corruption in the country. He said, but we must educate as a rainbow nation. They will be our future leaders of our country. If you look at the last election, you can see a lot of young people getting to parliament today. And I believe things will become better in South Africa. There was another question?
Yes, I do. So looking back, how do you personally reconcile serving a system built on racial domination with the humanity you later recognized in Mandela? And again, also with that, what responsibility do individuals carry when they're part of unjust systems?
You know, what I experienced when I started working with Robben Island, I didn't want to become a prison guard at all. And I grew up on a farm where I was the only white child playing with African children. And one day I was disrespectful to the elderly African man when my father gave me ID and said to me, the person can be black but a human being like us. And he said always in front of God we're all the same colors. That's how I was brought up. But I don't want to join the military to kill black people on the borders. I was looking for alternatives. I want to become an electrician, and that's why I ended up to become a prison guard. But when I see the injustice from Robben, and that is where I started realizing about apartheid. You must remember that years with our newspapers, the news was, everything was controlled by the government. And they only broadcast and put in the newspapers what they want us to see, not what really happened behind the scenes. And a lot of white kids go to the borders, kill black people in townships, but when they come back, they're not allowed to talk. A lot of these white kids end up in institutions. Some of them totally get them upside down with their minds. They could have not taken that what happened, but they must keep it secret. They were not allowed to talk. And when I see the injustice of Robben, I was feeling if he can just be friendly and always try to assist Mandela wherever I can assist him, that made his life a little bit easier in prison. I remember I was sitting one day at Mandela was writing exams. There was about 10 people who write exams. I was the examination officer on the island too. But around the building was 2 guards patrolling with German Shepherd dogs. But while I sit there and work in the census office, I take letters with me. We must always go through the letters and see what letters can be released to prisoners, because all letters already come from the intelligence office, and they informed us what is not allowed to receive and things. While I sit there, I sit with this letter of a lady from the Black Sash, or a black man. And she wrote there things in the letter, and the security branch letter attached to it. And it is not allowed to have that high secret, they must file it on his property and everything like that, because the letter is registered. I was thinking, stand up while they write exams, and I put the letter in front of me. And I see take the letter and start reading it, hiding it and reading. After a few minutes, he put up his hand and he come in and give me the letter. Just me with the eye. And you know, I knew we not talking about he was a lawyer, keep a secret. But at the visit, because I sit in that visit, at the end of the visit, he said to his wife, Winnie, darling, I dreamed last night about Molly Blackburn. Just send her my greetings. He didn't say he see a letter or receive a letter or nothing. He dreamed about her. That was just a message that you see a letter. But you know, things was bad in South Africa in apartheid. 1985 was an uprising in South Africa. Burned tires, black people was boycotting. And I was on the way from Portland prison to my parents' house, and I see those boycotts, they turned off before that. When I told my father about what I see what happened there, how they burned their tires, my father said, that should have never happened in this country. Discrimination in color. My father was not a politician, but he believed the color discrimination was too bad in South Africa. And that's how I brought up. I hope I answered some of your questions. Thank you. My South African, yes?
Okay. Could you please talk to us about what were the outcomes of the Truth and Reconciliation, as well as that was then, and as well as African government is now governing the ANC with other parties.
Okay, you know, when Mandela walked out of prison, number one, all his comrades said it's now time to take revenge on the white people. He was the one who stand up in that ANC meeting and he said, comrades, if we take revenge on the white people, innocent people from both sides dies.
You mentioned the Dutch Reformed Church. I'm not sure if everybody really understands what the Dutch Reformed Church and what's their philosophy.
The Dutch Reformed Church, their apartheid was only for whites. You know, it was mostly for Afrikaners, speak Afrikaans, Dutch. That was the Dutch Reformed Church. Mandela was a Methodist. And I asked Mandela one day, if you, I did ask him, people asked me if Mandela was a Christian. I said, I can't say. Because I see him many times at night, 2 o'clock, he sits with the Bible. And we attend all church services. He was always there for the church services. And he always said, when you take out, everybody in the world belongs to some religion or to something. And that is also good discipline to believe to that. And so I believe he can be a Christian, I believe that.
But the racism that's in the Dutch Reformed Church.
The Dutch Reformed Church was the biggest racism in South Africa. They was biggest, but now at the moment, his face is out. The Dutch Reformed Church moved away from the old beliefs to a totally changed over. You can go to Dutch Reformed Church today, and they will have the message in English and in Afrikaans, and will have from both colors in the churches. Yes, ma'am.
In 2003, the Texas Southern University debate team visited Robben Island, and some of our tour guides had been prisoners with President Madiba Mandela, and they told us about how some of the guards really impacted their lives in a positive way. Of course, they told us all the negative, but I'd like to thank you for being one of those positive guards.
Mandela, they asked me that question. If you don't hate the guards, he said to me, sir, the guards will become my close friends. I can count on my hands. And that is guards who come from the rural areas, speaking my language, understand us. And that's a guard who was helpful for me. If that was not for the guards, I should have never survived. And you know, when Mandela said his biggest shock in prison was when one of his comrades came to me and said, comrade, I received a letter from my wife, but I can't read it right. He was shocked to read a letter from somebody else's wife to his comrade. And he was helped write a letter. That's where they put pressure for education. That was very difficult for them to educate in prison. Because black education was bad in South Africa. And the people don't have money. So after many years in the early 70s, they allowed them to study. When they start studying, they study correspondence colleges, which was a very good education. And then Mandela realized that guards around him from the 60s, the tall, big, strong guys, can't even properly read or speak English or something like that. Then he motivated his prisoners around him. Let us put pressure to the guards to help them with education. So it was guards studying with prisoners. But Mandela wanted to do a degree, and a lot of people wanted to do a degree. But they allowed the prisoners to study history. But Mandela wanted to do another law degree, and they refused that. It took him 15 years for this lawyer at Ismail Ayub take the court case further. And then the court said, if Mandela can put up affidavit and say he's not going to use this degree in practice, they will give him permission to study LLB degree. And Mandela was also my lawyer in prison when he was in the motorcycle race. I could not afford a lawyer. He drafted letters. We posted letters that we win the court case. We'll read it all in my book. Thank you.
We can take one more question. If anyone else has one more question.
Hi, Mr. Brad. I just wanted, well, it's less of a question, but more just a statement of appreciation. As a young African American man, I just wanted to say I appreciate you speaking in front of us and your inspirational story that you had to share with us today. Thank you so much.
I was talking about kids today, but I want to tell you something about kids. I was on Mandela's birthday, his 90th birthday, so 2 weeks after that, and they visited at his house. And we had breakfast in the morning together, and then I want to leave. He said, no, Brad, I've got some friends come to visit me and greet me today. That morning, the two couples with 5 kids arrived. He greeted them all, And he looked at couples and he said to the parents, "You must close your ears. I want to speak privately with these children. I don't want your people to hear anything that we discuss." And they put their hands here. He asked the first boy, "Are you in school? What grade are you?" He said, "Grade 6, grade 8, grade whatever they said." He said, "Very good, I'm so happy you're all in the school." And then he came to the boy, he said, "You like school?" And the boy looked up to his parents, he said, "Not really, sir." He said, "You must be honest with me, man, because I can see you not honest with me." The boy said, "He not love school." The girl said, "Only loves her friends in school, but not interested in school," and it goes on like that. He said, "Okay, you're not really fond of school, but who pay your school fees?" And the boy said, "My parents." And they showed the parents. He said, "That is very good. If your parents pay your school fees, it means there's somebody support you. But what you must do, you must promise me you will study hard. If your father is a lawyer, you become a judge. You must do better than your parents because you've got opportunities. And the more you study, you make your parents proud of your education. But one day when you're on top and you're very rich, you look back and see it was an old man in Africa, Mandela. He told me I must study hard, and I'm so rich, I got so lots of money because I listened to him on that day. What must I do now?" Then you look around you. There's millions of people all over the world who would love to have education. Then you help people with education. And the more you help people around you, the more you will be blessed with good life. And he said to the boy, "All of you will reach 90 years old then if you do that." And the boy looked at him and said, "Really, sir?" He said, "Of course. If you help people outside with education one day, you will be blessed with good life." So the boy was believing.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And thank you to everyone who participated. At this time, I want to introduce Miss Gloria Baptiste. She's going to be introducing Texas Southern's International Debate Team.
I'm sorry to say that I will not be introducing the debate team, but instead, because they were not able to participate in the program today, but they were going to do a poem written by Maya Angelou entitled "His Day is Done." At the time that President Madiba passed, we had administrators in office who understood protocol, who were caring and loving, and so they had contacted Maya Angelou like about a year before his passing because they knew that Mandela was ill, and they asked her to write a poem to honor him because they said at the time of his death they wanted to be able to immediately release that poem. It's not very long for those of you who've been here a long time, but it is entitled "His Day is Done." And so Maya said in the poem, and I will be glad I brought the book, "His day is done, is done. The news came on the wings of wind, reluctant to carry its burden. Nelson Mandela's day is done. The news expected and still unwelcome reached us in the United States, and suddenly our world became somber. Our skies were leaden. His day is done. We see you, South African people, standing speechless at the slamming of the final door through which no traveler returns. Our spirits reach out to you, Bantu, Xhosa, Zulu. We think of you and your son of Africa, your father, your one more wonder of the world. We send our souls to you as we reflect upon you, your David, armed with a mere stone, facing the mighty Goliath. Your man of strength, Gideon, emerging triumphant, although born into the brutal embrace of apartheid, scarred by the savage atmosphere of racism, unjustly imprisoned in the bloody maws of South African dungeons. Would the man survive? Could the man survive? His answer strengthened men and women around the world. In the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas,
on the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, in Chicago's Loop, in New Orleans' Mardi Gras, in New York City's Times Square, we watched as the hope of Africa sprang through the prison doors. Oh yes, through the prison doors. His stupendous heart intact, hale and hardy. He had not been crippled by brutes, nor was his passion for the rights of human beings diminished by 27 years of imprisonment. Education, he said, is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Even here in America, we felt the cool, refreshing breeze of freedom when Nelson Mandela took the seat of the presidency in his country, where formerly he was not even allowed to vote. We were enlarged by tears of pride as we saw Nelson Mandela's former prison guards invited courteously by him to watch him from the front rows his inauguration. We saw him accept the World's Award in Norway with the grace and gratitude of Salon and ancient Grecian courts, and the beneficence of African chiefs from ancient Rome's courts. No sun outlasted sunset, but will rise again and bring the dawn. Yes, Mandela's day is done. Yes, we, his inheritors, will open the gates wider for reconciliation, and we will respond generously to the cries of the blacks and whites, Asians and Hispanics, the poor, and the lie piteously on the floor of our planet. He has offered us understanding. We will not withhold forgiveness, even from those who do not ask. Nelson Mandela's day is done. We confess it in tearful voices. Yes, we lift our own to say thank you. Thank you, our Gideon. Thank you, our David, our great, courageous man. We will not forget you. We will not dishonor you. We will remember and be glad that you lived among us, that you taught us, and that you loved us all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. At this time, we're gonna have Jada Perrier, Miss Irene Maxwell, and the Congressional District 18 representative present flowers, gifts, and certificates in appreciation to our guest speakers and special guests.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry. It's the first time talking.
Take your time. You got it, Irene. Take your time.
Texas Southern University community and I celebrate Brotherhood Week by honoring the loyalty, gratitude, and the strength. Through these vibrant balloons, the category represents deep-rooted and long-lasting bonds in South African culture and our appreciation for your presence, and we are truly grateful to have you with us today. And thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Katie. I'm here on behalf of Congressman Menifee. He's out and about in the district, so I'm here representing him. I'm really excited to be here. You said some beautiful words and you had such beautiful accounts. It really made me personally feel like I was in the moment. So thank you for that. I do have some certificates of recognition. I have one for you, sir. I also have one for Dean Kevin Johnson. Are you here, Dean Kevin Johnson?
Dr. Burkell.
Oh, he's in DC. Okay, I have one for him. I also have one for Dean Hector Miranda. Okay. I have one for you right here. We want to let you know that your efforts reflect the pride that exemplifies the spirit of excellence of the United States of America. Your efforts are most deserving of the respect, admiration, and condemnation of the United States Congress. I also have one for Karen Kossie, PhD. Are you here?
I am.
No.
Hello, everybody. I am the Chief of Staff and the District Director for District 18, our newly elected Congressman Menifee, Christian Menifee. And I'm excited to see Ms. Doris and the Houston Sun and all of you all, and want to make this presentation on behalf of our Congressman. Our Congressman could not be here on today, but certainly wanted to make sure that national recognition was given to this day. So as Katie started out, I'll go ahead and just pick up where she left off. And we will present this one to, I'll make sure I get the name right, it's Dr. Pamali.
Dr. Oliver.
To the next slide. Karen, Dr. Karen Kossie-Chernyshev. Let's go ahead and turn it this way. Okay, get a photo. He's gonna take one first. And then also Dean Kevin Johnson is absent, okay. And then we present them in order to Ms. Doris? Okay, well, I still want you to come up, I still want you to come up and say how much we appreciate you from the Office of Congressional District 18, which was very well represented by the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. I'd be remiss if I did not say that, and then also to our Mayor Forever and Congressman Sylvester Turner, who I had the great opportunity of working with both of them, and the great work that Ms. Doris did with both Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, as well as with Congressman, and as I said, Mayor Forever, Sylvester Turner. And so we truly appreciate all of the work that Ms. Doris does in our community. So we salute you from the 18th Congressional District on behalf of Congressman Christian Menifee.
I had my glasses hanging right here. I can't believe it.
Awesome.
One more right here. And one
We may be doing that. Yes, yes. Thank you again, like I said, on behalf of Congressman Christian Menifee, who is looking forward to doing great things, of course, in collaboration with Texas Southern University, the Houston Sun, and with the entire community. So again, I bring you greetings on behalf of the 18th Congressional District of Texas. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? All right. I am so proud of you all. You came, you listened, you learned. You were attentive. You weren't on those cell phones. Obviously, something was being said and done to keep your attention. So give yourselves a hand for that. Well, I just want to tell you all, today we have witnessed what brotherhood truly means. You should feel it in your heart. You should have interpreted in your mind. We should have a little bit more wisdom because we have an understanding of what brotherhood means. And we know that brotherhood includes sisterhood. Yes. Because without us sisters, there would be no brother. Y'all gonna say amen? Amen. Brotherhood Week reminds us that history is not merely something we study. And you heard about this studious lady over here who studied history, first African American in Texas. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. When I was making an academic choice, they offered me history. And I said at age 17, I wasn't going to do all that reading. No. Because I had already determined before I left high school that history was the written word of past events. I had already got real intelligent. Bless me. It is something that we shape, however. We shape history. And thank you for helping to shape history at Texas Southern University today. Yes. During this Black History Month, we are celebrating. We are reminded that freedom struggles are global. And as we celebrate this 100 years of commemorating African American work, we decided that we were going to talk about the globalization of our history. And see, God just brought you here because we didn't know who the global aspect, who was going to be the tie-in. Yeah. But he knew what we wanted, and so he just sent you. So we're going to thank and praise God for sending you. Yeah. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for coming. And thank you all for listening. That's important. During this Black History Month, we have to understand that we must have courage, just as our ancestors did. They had courage, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. They had courage. They believed that today could come about. And therefore, what did they do? They did a little 4-letter word. They worked. Work, past tense. And we must work today if we want to continue to shape history. There's work to be done. There's plenty of work to be done. And anybody can do the work. Anybody can do the work, only if you choose. Only if you choose. So whether we are in Houston or in South Africa, we can change the world. And we've got to know that. We've got to know that. We've got to believe in ourselves enough that we are qualified to change the world. So we thank you, Mr. Christo Brand, for reminding us that transformation is possible. We've got to believe that. It's possible because we can bring that possibility into reality. Even in the most divided times, we must believe that we have, as my brother would say, Mama, she has to have the stuff in her to be successful. So we believe that we have the stuff in us to change the world. Just as our ancestors did. They did it before us, ladies and gentlemen. So why are we gonna fall now? That's unacceptable. My grandfather would say he was gonna turn over in his grave. And I said, oh my God, he's probably still laying straight flat up on that darn mat. because we have not done enough, because he's expecting us to do much. So we extend our gratitude to Texas Southern University. Let's give Texas Southern a hand. The School of Public Affairs. This is where Barbara Joy, Mickey Leland came through here. Let's give them a hand. I am honored to be a part of Thomas F. Friedman's Honors College. Thank you. I am honored to teach the student that you sent to me. I believe I can halfway teach him too. Okay, the Department of History. Yeah, you all do a good job up there, but I'm not gonna try to compete.
We're working together, we're collaborating.
The Department of Political Science. My boss is not here, but she sent a message. That's the kind of thing that we do in the Department of Political Science. You know, we don't have to be present, but our voice can be present. That's what we've got to understand. You don't have to be present. Your voice can go before you and be in the mix. And our sponsors, the Houston Sun, that's my business, you all. That's my business. And each day I have to figure out how am I gonna get some more business, and some days I don't get any. But the LB Horse Symposium group, they did some business.
It
Because,
is.
you know why I know they did some business? Because they sent a check.
Yeah.
All right? But my business. Yeah.
Let me say this really quickly. The Lillian Jones Horse Symposium is named after Texas's earliest known African-American female novelist whose works I have published. So I created this organization to celebrate writing by and about Black women, and also whatever Black women are interested in, I want to support. And this was something that I wanted my organization to support. So, thank you.
Where our picture man?
Right here. Got 3 of them.
You got it? Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. I told y'all I could halfway do this. These are our moderators. These young people had to work to make this possible. Because, you know, when I do something, I start with a blank sheet of paper. And hopefully a mind that is not blank. And then we can fill that paper up and make some things happen. So these young ladies, give them another hand. Yeah. I think all the students who participated stand up to recognize what you all were doing. You recognize what you all were doing. Did you recognize it, Mr. Blaine? Well, what were they doing? All right, and what we were trying to do, because, you know, we didn't study, I don't know the history thing, right? I didn't do the science. So we had to figure out something about South Africa. And so we looked to the flag. And these young people stand up so we all can see. We looked at your flag, and this flag has 6 colors. And I didn't want them to go to any expense. And I asked, what color of clothing did you have? We're going to make this flag represent Mr. Brand because we are going to wear his color clothing. Did you notice that? Okay, I want to make sure we got it there. And so we're very happy that you all participated. I want to thank the faculty who came and supported. I want to thank the students who supported and all of our honored guests. And I want to thank the people from the community who showed up. Thank you so very much. Because see, you need to know where your tax dollars go. And when they come over here to Texas Southern University, you're going to get a return. So give yourselves a hand for supporting the government. We are committed to building bridges. And the bridge that relates to Nelson Mandela and apartheid is a real bridge. That's a critical bridge And we need to appreciate that we can sit here as young people, and reconcile the difference and intellectually disperse that information so that we can carry on. And that's why a real program can make such an impact. So we're building the bridges, strengthening brotherhood, and continuing to work is our charge for all of us as we move forward. Thank you all so very much.